This is my story, how I became a nutrition expert. How it started is, my son, who was 2 years old, and he suffered from asthma. And I was trying to find solutions for him, and I wasn't very keen on medication, but I had no options at the time, so I had to find the medication. And it got quite bad that he got onto a nebulizer. And a nebulizer is where cortisol is vaporized and you breathe it in. And what happens with cortisol is that it gives instant relief. So when you've got asthma and you can't breathe and your lungs are like clogged, the cortisol sort of opens the lungs and you get instant relief and you breathe. I know this because I also had asthma for over 30 years at that time. And he was having recurring infections. He was once put on antibiotics and had very bad reactions on him, some stomach problems, and things got worse. There were no results, and I was not happy about that. And myself, because I used to suffer with asthma for over 30 years, and I took all the medications you can think of with asthma. I used the pump, I used medication as expectorants, I would use drug expectorants, I would use herbal expectorants. I would find ways of getting my lungs to be dry or wet, and nothing was working. It was very frustrating. So you were only controlling the asthma. You were never trying to get rid of it. I wanted to get rid of it. So because there was no results, because you were just controlling it, and if you stayed on medication, that's the only time you could have some relief. And I thought there has to be a solution to that. And what triggered my curiosity in going to find a solution was when I found out that cortisol, that gets the instant result, is actually a hormone. So I'm an engineer. I qualified as an engineer. So now I'm going to use my engineering mind now, because the engineering mind is very inquisitive and goes and search to find the cause, the underlying causes of something that's not ideal. So my research started at that time with this problem that I was faced because of that frustration. So I asked a few questions and I went to search for the answers. So the questions that were asked were, how does the body make cortisol? What organ makes cortisol? And once I found what the organ was, then I asked the question, what nutrients does the body need to feed that organ so that that organ does make cortisol? So I thought if the body can make cortisol in sufficient amounts, then instead of taking it externally, because cortisol has got very bad side effects when you take it for too long. When you take it for acute cases, then it's okay, but for long term, it actually has problem because it actually starts degenerating the muscles. So it's not a good thing. But for when you're out of breath, you need it. So I found out, so in my discovery, I discovered that the adrenal glands, which is the glands above the kidneys here, are the glands that actually makes cortisol. So if the adrenal glands are fed with the nutrients and it makes adequate cortisol, then the asthma should be relieved, and my understanding is you should never have asthma anymore. And now I put it to the test. What I did is, I would apply this now. So what I did, I found what the nutrients are. So I went to the chemists, I went to the health shops, and I went to buy them. There was about 4 or 5 nutrients that were needed by the adrenal glands. I bought them, I would buy them in tablets or capsules. What I would do, I would break them up, tablets, I would crush them, and I would make them into a juice. So I would make a juice, and I would put the vitamins in there, and I would mix it, because my son, being 2 years old, would not be taking tablets. So I put it in a juice, mixed it, and gave it to him. And within 2 days, there was like magic. Within 2 days, the breathing eased, the sticky phlegm that couldn't cough out was coming out, was loosening, and within the 3rd day, the breathing came back to normal. So I tried this on myself as well, and same thing, it worked. Because from that point on, I've never had asthma. My son is 25 years old today, so for 23 years, I have not suffered with asthma. I put it to the test as well, because one would say you get asthma because of allergies, because of the weather, because all certain foods give you asthma. I tested it. I went to drink milk, which you're not supposed to do. I went to eat foods that are allergic, supposed to be allergic. I ate foods that you're not supposed to eat. I did all of these things. I had no asthma. So I came to the conclusion that when the body makes enough cortisol, there will be no asthma. And it's worked for me for over 23 years now. So when I got these results and I sorted out my son's asthma, I sorted out my asthma, people came to ask me questions. So please come and help me on different issues. Somebody would come and ask me, can you help me with diabetes? Another one came to ask me, can you help me with blood pressure? Another one asked me arthritis. How do I lose weight? Gout, liver problems, kidney stones, focus, concentration, all these things were asked of me. So what I did is, as one person came to ask me a question about a certain illness, I would go into my research, into the books where I discovered all of these, all the foods that are needed for cortisol. And I discovered a lot of things, and I started writing. I wrote a lot of articles. I wrote over 200 articles, short articles, which cover the topics straight to the point on the nutrients, the nutrition that you need to actually reverse these things. So I've had hundreds of people which have reversed their illnesses, they don't take any more medication, and they are living a healthy life. So it got to a point where I took notes on hyperactivity. And I found out that they were drugging children on hyperactivity, and I discovered the drugs they were giving the children for hyperactivity was the street drug speed. I started showing this to people, and people were getting quite shocked about it. And I did some research into that as well to find out how do I help parents who are actually desperate now, because some parents are being bullied at schools. They don't want to put their children on the drugs, and they want to find alternatives, and they had nowhere to find alternatives. So I went to do some research, and I found alternatives. I wrote a book. This is the book I wrote, The Rights of Children in Education. And this book answered every question that the parents were asking me. I had parents asking me questions after questions, and every time I answered them, it was the same questions coming up. So I wrote this book to actually answer those questions. I've written other books as well. Some people would ask me, can you write a book on fasting? So here's a nutrition basics book on fasting. So this is for Muslims who go on a fasting period for about a month, once a year, and they want to know how to eat healthy, so they can actually have they don't have to have all the troubles that comes with fasting during the fasting, so they don't have it. That helps them. So that book has been published for them. I've written a course on a lesson plan. So there's a course example here where one can do a course and study nutrition, and which helps one learn how to stay healthy. That's the main thing about nutrition. So that's my story of how I came about helping others, and have been very successful at it, and I keep doing it. I love doing it, and it gave me great joy to see people moving out of a condition of unhealthy condition where there's no energy and all that, and on medication, and moving away from medication and getting back to normal, getting back to a normal lifestyle without the need for drugs. As I was helping parents, I was helping children, and all those that were asking for my help, I found out I was recommending certain vitamins, minerals, amino acids which were repeating themselves. It was common things that were coming up, and I found the common things that were coming up is there were adrenal related problems. Adrenal related problems would actually also give immunity problems, would give arthritis. So when the adrenal glands were fixed up, the immunity would get better, the arthritis, the gout would go. I found that I had to help children get relaxed. People under stress had to be made to relax. In other words, they have to be able to relax and sleep in a relaxed way, and it needed certain nutrients. I was recommending certain brain foods for the children. In other words, what foods does the brain need for it to be able to focus, for it to be able to concentrate, for it to be able to have a longer attention span. I discovered those nutrients. There were vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and herbs. So I thought, let me do something. I started to develop specialized supplements. So instead of you going to the shop and buying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bottles of vitamins, minerals, and all that, and not knowing how to mix them, I went to a lab and I asked them to actually produce three specialized supplements, which one is made to feed the brain, so it's got the right mixture, got the right proportions. I asked them to make one for the adrenal glands, for asthma, for allergies, for arthritis and all that, so it's a combination that is specialized just with the right ingredients, the right proportions to feed the adrenals. And the third product that I was recommending and developed was one that feeds the nerves. When the nerves are not well fed, one can't relax. So when you can't relax, you can't sleep, and when you can't sleep, your body doesn't rejuvenate, so you have restless sleep and you wake up in the morning tired. So those three supplements that I spoke about, those three combinations, were the most common ones that I found I was recommending to people, to parents, to their children. And I knew that that would be the case for many other people who would be asking for solutions, because they would be coming up with the same problems that I've come across. And that was one way that I could help others, and one way that I could sustain myself. So it helps to sustain me, and it also helps me to continue helping others who are going to come to me with the problems, and we can find answers for them.